Scared stiff. Introduction. Everyone is aware that our prisons have violence and fights and oftentimes end up with men or women that get hurt and sometimes killed. What many don't know is many of these victims are in prison because of the role models or peers they hung around with. Sadly, many of these victims didn't have a choice in what happened to them because too often, their role models were incarcerated parents or parents without means of educating their child. As a result, that child was never shown how to act responsibly in today's society. Bullying is Dead Wrong is dedicated to giving much love and understanding to all those who have had to endure growing up in a violent existence and as a result, have found themselves on the wrong side of the law. It is only with knowing what is right and wrong that anyone can arrive at a just decision that will not endanger another human being, but when youngsters never get that teaching, it is more forgivable. Instead of placing blame on them, society can understand, to an extent, how they came to arrive at jails. Our sincere hope is that our short story will help that innocent victim see the light and make a positive impact on our world. If we can help one child or young adult stay out of prison and help others stay out of prison life, then we have accomplished the greatest gift of all, helping our fellow man. Jimmy was just 3 years old when his father Robert was caught dealing drugs. Unfortunately, Jimmy lost his mother when he was born. There were physical complications associated with his birth, and these complications ultimately killed his mother during delivery. Robert was a decent man and worked hard to provide a life for his young son. He had a thriving career as a mechanic for many years, but shortly after Jimmy was born, he lost this job due to unfavorable employment conditions. When Robert lost that job, he was desperate to make money for rent and food and was lost as how to make ends meet. The family's apartment was not in the best area of town, but sometimes fate intervenes when hope seems lost. Robert saw an opportunity to make money. He'd already been approached about running drugs for a few people, and he knew it was a fast, easy way to make quick cash and it would allow the family to live fairly comfortably. The problem was, Robert's ethics were preventing him from taking that leap right away. He'd been brought up to follow the law, and he knew what getting caught with drugs would do. He knew beyond doubt that it was wrong, but his son was hungry and needed clothing and shelter. He was living the axiom, desperate times, desperate measures, and he needed money fast. With the rent 2 months overdue and winter coming quickly, Robert did the only thing he could. He latched onto dealing drugs. When Robert was a young man, he had a couple friends that sold drugs, and though Robert didn't agree with doing it, the money would supplant his guilty conscience, or at least help him give his son what he needed. It took some time, but after a while, Robert became one of the most skilled drug runners in the country. He knew it was wrong, that it would only be a matter of time before the authorities caught up with him, but in the meantime, his son was thriving with the money he brought home and he'd been able to provide for his family in ways he'd never dreamed possible. When the federal authorities finally arrested Robert, he pleaded with the judge for leniency. He promised that he would never again sell drugs, and begged to be reunited with his son. The judge was surprisingly lenient, but he despised anyone who did anything that could and would cause harm to kids. Trafficking drugs, or even just selling them for mass consumption, most definitely could cause that sort of harm. Robert received 3 to 5 years, and Jimmy was adopted by his brother and sister-in-law. While in prison, Robert vowed to help others when he got out, so they would never have to go through what he was dealing with on a daily basis. Prison life bordered on the tolerable, if you discounted the lousy food, getting up at sunrise, sleeping and living in a 7 by 10 foot cold cell, where everyone could see you going to the bathroom and you saw daylight an hour a day. Robert also knew that things could go from bad to even worse in a heartbeat, as there was always the threat of being assaulted or killed. Drug dealers were hot targets, even in prison. When word got out that he was one of the top dealers, the other dealers in prison would be gunning for him, thirsty for his territory. It was horrific. Robert never thought he'd end up behind the bars of a darkness that knew or showed no mercy. The darkness often threatened to consume him, and he felt it edging into his very soul, promising nothing but no forgiveness and no light. Serving time was like death itself.